Rambam in Hilchos Tainis writes that there are other Tanaisim shekol Yisrael misani b'nehem mipnei tzorah she'u b'hem. Why? Kedei le'oyer halavados v'liftoach darchei hatshuva v'yeh zichron lema'aseinu haroim u'masa avoseinu shehoyo kema'aseinu ato. We are fasting to reflect and arouse ourselves for the bad actions that we are doing and that our forefathers did likewise. So if there's a time for cheshbon nefesh, now it is. Gemara, we know, tells us in Yuma that Bais Rishon, the first Bais, was destroyed for the Gimel Chamuris, for Avodah Zorah, Gilui Arayos, Shvichus Domim. The Gemara asks, why was Bais Rishon, why was the Churban of the first base, of the second, of Bais Sheni? Says the Gemara, Sinas Chinam. Because there was Sinas Chinam, needless hatred amongst the Jewish people. Tells us the Gemara, Lelamed, that we should learn from over here that Shkula, Sinas Chinam, to Avodah Zorah, Gilui Arayos, Shvichus Domim. So here it is. The Gemara lays it out. The first Beis Hamikdash was the Gimel Chamuras, the three Averius for which a person rather needs to lay down his life. And the second Beis Hamikdash was Sinas Chinam. The Maharal in Netzach Yisrael notes, why is it, Perek Daled, why is it that the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed particularly for these three Averis, whereas Migdash Sheni was for Sinas Chinam? Says the Maharal, it can't merely be Mimikra. Maharal explains like this. Migdash Rishon, we know, had the Shechina. We were zeicher to the divine presence. When the Gemara lists the Chilukim, the differences between the first Beis Hamikdash and the second Beis Hamikdash, the first Beis Hamikdash, one of the differences, the first Beis Hamikdash had the Shechina, the second Beis Hamikdash did not have the Shechina. This was in the schus of the Avos HaKadoshim, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, each of whom perfected and bequeathed as a spiritual heritage to Klal Yisrael the attributes where we could have the Shechina amongst us. The Maharal in Pirkei Avos is marich that there's three elements, three areas where a person needs to perfect himself between Adam Lamakim, between himself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, himself and his fellow man, and a person within himself. That's Haiman Boila Mahave Chasidus, says the Gemara in Baba Kama. Whoever wants to be a Chassid, one opinion the Gemara says it's the Kayan Mili de Nezikin, the other opinion is Mili de Brachis, and the other opinion is Mili de Avos. The Maharal says each one reflects these three areas of perfection. These attributes we received from the Avos. So when we stepped out of line with Avodah Zorah, Gilui Arayos, and Shvichus Domim, this, says the Maharal, causes a siluk of the Shechina, of a going away of a Kodesh Baruch Hu's divine presence in us. And if that's what made the Migdash ceased to be. Migdash Sheni, says the Maharal, was because of Am Yisrael. Because of Am Yisrael. There was a unity of Am Yisrael which was reflected in the Migdash, and the Migdash enhanced. We had one Kohen, one Mizbeach, one Korban Tamid, one, right? There were a whole lot of unifying factors in the Mikdash. But the Mikdash essentially, Mikdash Sheni, was the schus of Am Yisrael. So says the Maharal, because Mikdash Sheni was because of Am Yisrael, if Am Yisrael ceased to be an Am because there was machlokes, there was disharmony and disunity, so then there is no longer the schus of an Am Yisrael, of a united Am Yisrael, to validate and allow us the privilege of a Beis Hamikdash. So, if the Mikdash Sheni was destroyed because we lost the nature of an am, of a nation. A nation is united. A nation has common purpose and common direction. If that was lost, and we are today mourning the destruction, the process of Bein HaMetzorim, then surely it's the concern for the Am Yisrael, it's the concern for what happened to us as a nation that has to preoccupy us and what we can do about it. So many will ask, okay, fine. Mikdash Sheni was chorov because of disunity, because of machlokes. There's a pitiful state in Klal Yisrael, but okay, why me? Who am I in the picture? What have I got to do with anything in it? Okay, so the couple of people that I have a faribble with, all right, I'll make good with it. But the big picture, why is it my problem? So I'd like to share a few references in the bit of time we have, plenty more, but I want to share a few references that are pretty applicable to each and every one of us. We know there's a halacha that kol akiri krishma below tefillin kilu me'ud sheker al atzmai. Whoever reads Krishma without tefillin on him, it's like he's testifying false testimony about himself. Rishonim explain, because there he reads about the obligation of tefillin, and he's not doing anything about it. Tzitzis, maybe he doesn't have a beged which is chayev, but tefillin, why isn't he putting on tefillin? So I was thinking to myself, the first paragraph after Shema Yisrael, the Ohavta es Hashem Elokecha. We also have a chiyuv of avos Hashem. How many of us invest time into avos Hashem? We kind of have a notion that avos Hashem is one of these very lofty mitzvahs that are not really for the man in the street. These are it's a mitzvah for the big tzaddikim, for people of high dargas, for sure. There's a level of ava which is megavoa me'al gavoa, but there's got to be a mitzvah which is nohig, which is applicable to everybody. So as you do with the Rambam in the Sefer Mitzvahs Gimel writes, ha-mitzvah shlishis, the third mitzvah, shetzivanu la'ahavo yisale. Got to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No, how do we go about it? Shenisboinein v'naskil mitzvoisov u'pu'uloisov. We should reflect on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvahs and on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's actions. In other words, delve deeply into Torah and delve deeply into the world. And shenesigeyu, that we should have something of a comprehension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nisaneg ba'asagosoi taslis hatanuk. And then we'll take great pleasure in this understanding and perception to the furthest end. V'zoisi ha'ahava mechuyeves. This is the ahava that we are commanded to have. Again, for many of us, it seems something very high, very lofty. Just like to focus. The Rambam points out we reflect on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvahs and we reflect on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's actions. Comes to mind the Meshech Chochmah. The Meshech Chochmah tells us, Chazal, that the luchos could be read from the inside outwards and from the outside inwards. Which the writing had a unique feature, could be read from both sides. Meshech Chochmah explains what is the symbolism from the outside inwards, from the inside outwards. He says there is a derech to perception of Hashem. There is a perception to derech ha'emes of se'umaroi manechem u'ru'umi boros elu. Looking up, reflecting on the Bria who created the world the way we have it. That is a mahalach. That is from the outside, we want to get inside. And then there's another way, there's another path to get to avos Hashem. That is a person that is deeply rooted on the inside, now sees a manifestation of a Kodesh Baruch Hu in everything that he sees on the outside. That is, from the inside outwards and from the outside inwards. There is something, though, which is practical, can apply to any one of us. The Rambam continues in the mitzvah. Ukva omru, shemitzvah zu koleles gamken, shenidrosh v'nikra ha'anoshim kulom la'avodos yisrael ula'amin boy. This mitzvah of Avos Hashem also includes that we call to people to serve Hashem and believe in Hashem. Why? Because when you love somebody and you're excited about loving that person, you want to get more fans on board. Right? That is a simon of the Ava that you have. And that is why Avraham Avinu is called Avram Oyavi, because Avraham Avinu had this midah of a nefesh osu bechoron. Avraham Avinu had this life mission of going out, of bringing people in, of making people closer to the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So therefore he was awarded the title Avram Oyavi, Avram who loves me. That applies to all of us. Mitzvah deraisa, Sefer Mitzvah of the Rambam, Mitzvah Gimel. Pasuk says in Vayikra, Perik Yutes, Lo yisisnes achicha bilvavecha, right? Do not hate your friend in your heart. Many of them in our mitzvahs learn that if you tell him to his face, I hate your guts, it's not a problem, right? But the Ramban says, because that's something which is nogea l'leiv. Says the Ramban, because if you have the ability to be mochiach, if you have the ability to, as my master would say, bring it back on the straight and narrow, and you don't do it, tisa olav chait. You bear a responsibility, a culpability for that which he has done wrong. The Ramban in Chumash is a very well-known Mishnah in Shabbos Daf Nun Daled. Right, the Mishnah is giving a list of what you're allowed to carry, not allowed to carry, and it says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had a cow with a ritzua between its horns, shelo b'ratzon chachamim, and that the chachamim were not very happy with. Gemara continues that it wasn't really his cow. He had thousands and thousands and thousands of cows. Doesn't mean it's one cow. He had a neighbor that had such a cow, and because he didn't stop her, he faced the music. He took the responsibility. There's a medrash in Parshas Kedoshim. Medrash says like this: Omer Ravacha b'shem Rav Tanchem b'Reb Chiya, Lo mad adam v'limei. A person has learnt, and a person has even taught. V'shomar v'osa, and he's kept away from mitzvahs lo saseh, and he's doing all the mitzvahs lo saseh. V'hoyasa sipek b'yodoi limchos v'loi michal. And he had the ability to hold back people from doing that which they were not supposed to do. And he did not. Lahachzik v'loi hichzik, to support, and he didn't support. Hareze bichlal orur. This is included in orur ashel yokim as dibra terazeh, says the Medrash. Medrash says the flip side also. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar b'shem Reb Chiya, lo yilomad adam v'lo yosa v'lo yishoma v'lo yilimid la'achirim v'lo yirso sipek b'yodo la'achzik v'la'achzik v'lo limchos v'michal. The person didn't have any of the above, but he pointed things out. He protested even though he didn't really have the ability. He supported even though he didn't really have the ability. Harizit Baruch. He's somebody that included the bracha of somebody that holds up Torah. Very powerful. Next couple of psukim in Parshas Kedoshim. Lo tikum v'lo titor es bnei amecha v'yohavta l'reacha kamoicha ani Hashem. After l'reacha kamoicha ani Hashem. It's well known, the Ramban says, what does it mean, v'yohavta l'reacha kamoicha? Can the Torah command us to do something which is totally against human nature? Nobody can really love somebody like he loves himself. Not only that, says the Ramban, it's not halachically correct. We know that if two people are in the desert and there's only enough water for one of them, so the person that's got it keeps it. He doesn't need to give it to his friend. Why don't we say v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha? Says the Ramban, what is v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha? There is a tendency amongst people that even with a friend, you want that the friend should have things good. A nice house, a nice car. You want him to have everything of the best, but you nevertheless want a little edge on him. Says Ramban, that small-mindedness is excluded by v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. Think big. You are going to want that your friend, sheyizker ra'eyu ha'ohov loi, ba'oisher, b'koved, b'das, b'chochma, right? And you should have it. You should want the good for your friend, an abundance of good for your friend, the same way you want good for yourself, without thinking, I want it to have everything. I want it to have, but I want everything plus. That, no. So, the v'ahavta l'reacha moicha dictates, I want the very best for my friend, obviously, where it's not me against him. We know the Mesilas Yesharim tells us that the only thing which is ultimately tov is kirvas elokim. Kirvas elokim. So if kirvas elokim is that which is really tov, and anything else besides that is not really tov, it's just hevel, says the Mesilas Yesharim, then part of, if we put the Ramban with the Mesilas Yesharim together, my part of wanting the very best for my friend is wanting to have kirvas elokim also. It's well known, there's a long piece in the Toimah Dvoirah. With the Toimah Dvoirah, we can just say over the words to, the Rebbe, the Arizal. In the fourth midah of the She'eris Nachalosai, he speaks out how we have to interact with every Jew that we are mamish family. We are mamish family. He says, Kol Yisrael heim sher basar elu im elu. Why? Mipnei she'haneshama klulus yachad. Yesh b'zeh chelik zeh. V'b'zeh chelik zeh. Everybody has a chelik of everybody else's neshama mixed in with him. Because when I do good, it's impacting my bit of neshama, which is by each of you. And when you do good, it's impacting that bit of neshama of you, which is by me. We know the Gemara tells us in Basa Kuf Lamed Daled that Hillel had 30 Talmidim that were Ru'uyim Shetishra Aleim Shechina K'Moshe Rabbeinu. Says the Rashbam, the door wasn't Zayteh. Because of the door, they didn't have it. So very often we have a feeling, okay, so there's Avas Hashem, there's Recheich Tuchiach, the V'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha, there's maybe Orur and Baruch, there's maybe this Kol Yisrael Arevim over Zeh B'Zeh. But what about my Ruchnius? We see that 30 people did not have the Nevuah at the level of Moshe Rabbeinu because their door was lowered out. So clearly, even our Ruchnius, it's not only the other person's Ruchnius that we have a responsibility for, but if we are concerned with our Ruchnius, Rabbi Yisrael Salanta always used to say that the concern for somebody else's Gashmius is my Ruchnius. No? So we're not going to say, and his Ruchnius? Is that not Kal V'chomer the same? There's a famous Beis Halevi. Gemara says in Chagiga that if a tzaddik, he gets the schar, right, that noitzil schar, that he can get the schar of other people in Olam Haba. And so to the Rasha, in our terms, will face the music for various other people. That explains the Beis Halevi like this. When a person does a mitzvah, he generates an atmosphere of Kedusha that makes it more conducive and easier for other people to do. Mamele, if other people did mitzvahs because of him, he gets the credit. So too, if other people did averas because somebody created an energy, a negative energy, by stepping out of line, so for sure they're going to be culpable for doing it themselves. But that initial impetus which came from those people that were doing what they're not supposed to, they will be responsible for also. So we see that on a self, even, if a person say, what about me? But you see that any good deed that somebody does because of you, you credit it. Even if it's in a remote cause and effect, kal v'chomer, if it's in a more direct fashion. So we got Avos Hashem, V'after Recha Kamoicha, Hocheach Tochiach, Ora Rashilo Yakim, and Baruch Hashem Yakim. We can carry on, but my candy's almost done. The Navi Zechariah says, Tzvi Ravi, V'tzvi Chamishi, V'tzvi Shvi, V'tzvi Asiri. Turn over Yiyeh lebeis Yehuda l'sasan u'lesimcha u'lemoyadim toivim va'emes v'sholem ehovu. We live with a belief that these days of Shiva Sabbat Tammuz, Tisha B'Av, Tzom Gedalia, and Asara B'Teves will become Yom Tovim. Amar Rabbi Levi, b'chol chodesh v'chodesh shebekayitz. On every single month in the summer, Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Ten Yisrael Moyed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give Am Yisrael a Moyed. B'Nisan Nosan Lehem Pesach, B'Ir Nosan Lehem Pesach HaKotten, B'Sivan Nosan Lehem Atzeres, B'Tammuz Hayo B'Daito L'Ten Lehem Moyed Godel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make a big Yontef in Tammuz. They made an Egel, Ubatul Tammuz, V'Av V'Elu. So the Tzayim has Ravi, the Tzayim HaChamishi. Kodesh Baruch Hu has plans to give us Moyadim that we never had before. That is what we say in the Birkas HaGeula, in Leila Seder, that a Kodesh Baruch Hu should bring us the Moyadim Achirim. What do you mean Moyadim Achirim? We don't just say Moyadim. Why Moyadim Achirim? Because there's a whole list that we don't have yet. We should be Zoyche, that there should be a Tzura V'Am Yisrael. That way, Be'ezus Hashem, we can be Zoyche to be part of, and be Zoyche Begula Shalem B'Mehim Rabbi Ameinu.